Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Living Overseas on a Dime. I'm Noel,
I'm Jenny.
and today we're going to do one of our straight talks, which talks about the pros and cons of a destination for living overseas or retirement.
Yeah.
In the past, our straight talks have primarily been about Mexico, so we're doing a bit of a turn today to give you some different options as places that you might want to live overseas or retire in. And today, that is the country of Türkiye,
Yeah.
which is often commonly referred to in Western countries as Turkey.
Yeah.
Last year, we spent a total of 3 months living and traveling around Turkey. And I have to say that we absolutely love Turkey. It's a great, great place.
Yeah, we actually miss it and we want to go back. So,
Yeah, it's somewhere that is very dear to our hearts. And as you'll see today, it's not a place that doesn't have some of its own little things that you need to know about. But who knows? It may be a place that you would love to live and retire. So, as in all of our straight talks, we talk about the pros and the cons, and we'll have some that are in between here too today.
and remember, it's just our opinion.
Yes.
Feel free to comment in the sections below because we'd like to get your opinion. But in general, just our opinion.
Yes. And we like to say thank you to all of our subscribers out there for your continued support.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to have videos like this and some new stuff in the future that's coming along.
Yeah.
But just stay tuned. And today we hope that you enjoy this and thank you again.
Yeah.
So one of the great things about Turkey is that there are lots of different places that you can live. It's a large country and it pretty much has anything that you could want. It has large metropolis cities like Istanbul. There's more smaller beach towns like Fethiye, more medium-sized beach cities like Antalya. There's, I guess it's still a large city of Izmir. And even there's the capital of Ankara. There's a lot of different options for places that you could live. And that really allows you to see the greatness that is Turkey.
Yeah. So for us, for the 3 months, we started in Istanbul, and then we went to Antalya, and then we ended our trip for 1 month in Izmir.
Yeah, we spent almost a month in each of those
place.
places.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty close to 3 months total in Turkey. Just to be clear, we were living there. We weren't just traveling. So we did some traveling too, but we wanted really to experience the places so we could have a good opinion as to what it's like to live there.
Yeah. All three places we loved. So we spent, I think, 3.5 weeks in Istanbul. And wow, just so much to do. There's an energy to the place.
Yeah, it's busy.
Now, we had heard how busy it was and how go it was.
Yeah, it
but
really is.
really, like, people don't even walk. They prance and they run down the street. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy. Like, there's an intensity to the place that is hard to describe, right?
Yeah. And then in contrast, Antalya was a much more laid back beach town.
Yes.
And I was surprised there wasn't tons of surfers there, to be honest. There's not really surfing, but it's so chill. And we came from Istanbul going, holy smokes. Like if you watch, I'll maybe put a link up there to one of our videos about just how chill it was coming from Istanbul.
But it was a nice change, right?
Yeah.
Like Istanbul, you're just so busy. You're seeing stuff. You're going places. It's just a super intense city. And then Antalya, we got there and it's, let's go to the beach. Everybody's chill. It was really nice. And then Izmir, we fell in love with Izmir.
Yeah, Izmir is kind of like a midpoint between the two. It's still a big city, but it was pretty relaxed, very liberal, very, modern thinking, and it was an enjoyable place to live.
Yes. There is a beach, I think, an hour away.
Yeah, Chesme, yeah.
But it's a port city, but we love that. There's lots of walking paths on the water and ferries, and so it was like a mini Istanbul, and it still chill, not as chill as Antalya, but not as crazy as Istanbul. So if those two had a baby, it would be Izmir. So
and that was just a very small portion. Turkey is huge.
Huge.
There's the whole inner part of the country. We're just primarily on the coast, and even that we only touch the surface.
Right.
So hopefully this video today gives you an idea as to some of the different options, and we'll continue on with the pros now with the next pro.
There's lots of beaches, and we didn't really think about Turkey beaches. You think Istanbul, right?
Yeah.
But wow, we were. I mean, now we only had gone to Antalya, There's lots of others. There's Bodrum.
Yeah,
The
Fethiye,
Fethiye has beaches.
that
Like
whole
that whole
coast.
coast
Yeah.
has beaches. And the Antalya beach, where we were in Kunyalti, and huge,
Yeah. It
right?
almost was the entire city. Really.
Huge.
Yeah.
Beautiful. They've got showers on the beach. They've got restaurants, huge boardwalk,
Yeah.
biking path that goes all along the beach. Like it was a great setup,
Yeah,
right?
if you want beaches, Antalya is just gorgeous.
Yeah,
And you have the mountains in the background. Like, it's pretty
beautiful.
hard to beat.
Yes.
So the next pro is transportation. And this is in kind of multiple different levels. First of all is Istanbul has two major airports, international airports. So Istanbul is probably one of the biggest transportation hubs in that part of the world, if not the world. You can get flights from pretty much anywhere in the world to Istanbul. Matter of fact, we flew from Cancun to Istanbul. We had our 3-month layover there and then flew to Bangkok to give you an idea as to the range of places you can fly to from Istanbul. So connecting flights are not a problem. Also, just a little side note, Turkish Airlines is fantastic. We loved it. The food was
Great food,
yeah,
great service.
it was
We
really,
love
really
Turkish
great.
Airlines. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not getting any money for this, but we absolutely love Turkish Airlines.
And then flying within Turkey is great as well, right?
Yeah.
We flew to Antalya and we flew to Izmir. So inside Turkey, the flights were great. Cheap,
Yeah.
super quick, and great. So we did international and local airplanes, and it was fabulous.
Yeah, and the same can be said of the trains. We took a train from Izmir to Ephesus. It was super on time, clean, efficient,
super modern.
easy to buy tickets, and very affordable, as well as the buses. We didn't really deal with the buses, but from everyone we talked to, the buses inside Turkey are great.
Yeah, and the subway systems are great. The subway system in Istanbul, awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then in Izmir, the subway was super modern, super clean, really great. Antalya didn't have it; they just had buses, but the buses were super modern and nice as well. So, the transportation in Turkey in general, if it says a subway in the city, it's going to run really well.
Yeah, and it's very on time, very efficient.
Yeah.
And most of them, you just get a card and you top it up, and it's not really much of an
And
issue.
affordable. It wasn't expensive from what I remember.
Yeah. So another pro, though it does lean into somewhat into the both area, which we'll cover, is the affordability. Sadly, the Turkish lira and the economy has taken a bit of a hit in the last few years during COVID, but it's meant for people coming from outside of Turkey that it's very, very affordable to travel. And, that has changed with the inflation there. And we'll talk about that in a little while. But just overall, Turkey is one of the more affordable countries in the world to travel.
Absolutely. I mean, most of the meals were $4.
Yeah, $4 to $6. So you can't really complain when you're getting a full meal for that.
And that's like a kebab with rice, soup, bread, like everything for that amount of money. I mean, it was cheap to eat there, super affordable. If you wanted more high end, you could go that way too, but the meals were really good.
Yeah, and this leads us into our next pro, which is food.
Food, fantastic. Like, we heard how good the food was, but it's so good. I mean, you can get kebabs, and more kebabs, and you name it. Like, it's just, the food is amazing. And you brought up a good point about farm to table, right?
Yeah. Yeah, almost all the food in Turkey is organic and it's local.
Yeah.
So we even went to some little farmers markets that were selling fresh strawberries. And it was just a huge bag for like $3 or $4. It was fantastic. And, I find it really interesting. And we've talked to several friends about this, that people who have had gut issues and even like gluten sensitivity in North America, possibly due to GMO, I don't know exactly what, they come to Turkey and all of a sudden they can eat bread.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shocking. And you know what? I found that too. I didn't have any issues with the foods, whereas in, North America, I can't say the same.
Yeah.
So the food is very healthy and it's absolutely delicious. Some of it is stuff that maybe you aren't familiar with. Like there were some dishes we needed to try that, we knew, of course, kebabs and whatnot, but aside from that, we were not familiar, but we learned to absolutely love Turkish food.
Yeah, there's just such a wide variety. And we love that there's like soup, provided at every
Yeah.
meal,
Yeah.
which we loved. We were never really soup people, and you've got lentil soup and chicken. Like
That was
there's
great.
soup everywhere, bread included. We went to a bunch of buffets where they just have eggplant dishes and you name it. This could be a con for some people. They like their meat.
Yeah.
We loved it. But if you're vegetarian, not that you can't find food, you can, right?
Yeah, you
There's
have
lots
to
of
look,
eggplant dishes. There's lots of that kind of thing. You just have to look. Like there's lots of lentil soups and that kind of thing. You just have to ask, and you just got to look. You got to get a little bit more creative. It is there, but they like their meat, and the meat is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good, so fresh.
So fresh,
delicious.
really basic. Like if you don't like spicy food and that kind of thing, if you like barbecued stuff, you'll have no problem with the food.
Yeah.
So
highly recommend the food in Turkey.
high
It's just
quality,
so good.
really good, and affordable. Like you just can't go wrong. So the food for us was, we want to go back just
so good.
for the food.
We miss it
right?
every day.
Yeah, we do.
So what kind of the last thing on the list of the pros is general infrastructure. And by this, we're talking about power, internet, things along those lines. Like the internet wasn't mind blowing. It's not Asia fast or anything like that, but it was good.
It was good.
You know,
We never had
generally we
problems.
didn't have any. And also there weren't really power outs or anything along those lines. Just everything was modern.
Yeah.
And even like the places we stayed at, they were modern, nice apartments, and we had no issues, and everything was up to par with what we were used to.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say that as some other countries. You know, Central and South America will have lots of brown or blackouts, and you just don't know what you're getting with internet. Puerto Escondido, we're looking at you.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
But in general, internet was great.
Yeah.
Power, there were no power outages. Most places have aircon because, let's face it, in the summer, it gets really hot in Turkey.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a bit in the next section here with the pro-con combo section.
Yes, but in general, right? We had no power outages, nothing like that.
Everything was good.
Yeah.
So the next section, we're going to talk about something that has some pros and some cons, and kind of a both section, which we've started to do in our last few videos. And the first thing is the culture. Now, and this has nothing to do with Islam or Muslim culture. No. We loved the Muslim culture. Yeah. It has more so to do with, as we found as we travel, that a lot of countries will have kind of a public culture and a private culture that are quite different. And this is often represented somewhat with traffic habits, and the traffic and the public culture in general, can we say, is just a little bit aggressive? Shall we say the least?
Yeah. Okay. Now, that being said, remember, we flew from Mexico into Istanbul. And if you've ever been to Mexico, people are just, hey, how's
friendly,
it going?
Chill, outgoing.
Yeah, I mean, such a outgoing, friendly culture. They want to share their culture. They're like, hey, hola, I mean, they're super friendly. And I'd say pretty outgoing as a culture. And then in Istanbul...
Or Turkey as a whole.
Turkey as a whole. I remember walking down the street early in the morning and walking down the street and me saying hi to people on the street, and...
Yeah, they looked at you like you're
nuts.
They
just looked at me like I was nuts. Like, it's just not like a, hey, how's it going? Like, you don't really make eye contact with people on the streets... Unless you know them, like if you live in the neighborhood, sure. But it's just not really done. Yeah. And coming from Mexico, it was just a total 360.
Especially with the queuing culture in Turkey, like people are pushy. And you need to be prepared for that. Yeah. Now, let's put this into perspective, though. However, like once you are a little bit known to the person, you go to their shop fairly often, they treat you like family.
Yeah, they really do.
The Turkish hospitality is world-renowned, and for a good reason.
For sure.
They're amazing, loving people who will go much beyond what they should in making you feel comfortable and welcome.
Yeah. And that was a bonus of us staying in a place for a month, right? Like, if we had gone for like 2 or 3 days... just stayed in Istanbul, gone for 2 or 3 days, we wouldn't have gotten to know our neighborhood. Exactly. And the guy who had the little corner store beside us, great. He was so nice, right? And we'd always buy our water from him and say hi and have little conversations. And then the buffet that we always went to, they were super nice,
Exactly.
and the kebab guy, and then the dessert guy who had the
Yep.
bakery. I mean, everybody treated us like family by the end of the
Yep.
month, right? It just takes them a while to warm up, and that is a bonus about slow traveling.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not to turn you off in any way from traveling there.
No,
Like,
no.
I had to chill out a bit at the airport. I'm not going to pretend because people like to butt lines and stuff, and that drives me
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
But you know what? The overall experience was great, and in no way do we regret it. And
No.
we want, like we said before, we want to go back.
No, like the traffic's crazy. Don't expect them if you're crossing the street. Like, really watch
Yeah.
where you're going and where you're walking, because they don't really stop for pedestrians.
Yeah.
So you really have to pay attention. But as long as you are hyper vigilant with crossing the streets and people driving in general, you'll be fine. So it was a little bit. You
Need
just got to be careful.
And another thing that came up with culture that was actually different than we expected. Some people say, oh, it's a Muslim culture. They're very conservative with dress. We did not find that at all. People wear bikinis on the beaches without issue.
No problem.
And it's just, even in Istanbul or any of the cities, people dress however they want to dress.
Yeah,
And
you had like super conservative, fully covered, and then right beside a girl with
a mini
shorts
skirt.
on and a mini skirt
Yeah,
on, on the subway, which we were a little shocked about, right? Like, so
if that's something you're worried about, it's not a concern.
no, that's only the three places we went to, right?
Yeah.
Like, in Izmir, Antalya, and Istanbul, we haven't been to any other places, but we found, I'm not saying go super risque or anything, but you can, shorts and a tank top I wore all the time because it was so hot. And
Dress as you would.
yeah,
basically.
no one gave me an issue, so that was nice.
Yeah. One that kind of has a little bit of both that we found, especially considering Cole has some dietary issue, was with the food.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we went on about how great the food is, and that is true. However, Türkiye is interesting in that it's very local and even somewhat insular with its trade. Now, what I mean by that is that it's going to be difficult to find other food options. And that means there isn't much in the way of imports. If you want a gluten-free bread, good luck. Maybe they have it somewhere in Istanbul.
Yeah,
but,
maybe.
most of the products are local. And by that, I mean from within Türkiye. So that's just something to be aware of. If you have your favorite brand of peanut butter, you ain't going to find it.
No. Now, that being said, like, you can buy some imported stuff. It's going to be triple the cost.
Yeah.
As opposed to a locally made product. We did hear that some people had problems with finding vitamins, that kind of thing. Like, if you're planning on traveling there and you need something super specific, bring it with you, because chances are you might not be able to find it there. So, another one, it was a pro and a con, was the weather. All 3 months we were there, I think we got 1 day of rain in Antalya. All 3 months, sun and hot and like humid, and
We're talking 40 degrees
we're
Celsius.
talking 40 degrees Celsius. It was hot. We got used to it, but just be aware, get air conditioning when you can, cool off when you can. So if you don't like that hot weather, don't go in the summer. It does get cooler in the winter, which is nice. And I think most places have heat.
Yeah, well, Istanbul gets snow.
Yeah, they get snow.
So they definitely need heat.
I assume. I mean, they had air conditioning where we were. So so it gets hot, it gets cold. So that's nice. If you want that temperature change, you want actually kind of winter, they have it there, right? Another thing to be aware of, though, is fires. I don't know when they had all those major fires.
It was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. When we were there were no issues in Antalya with fires. But it does happen some years just because it's so dry and so hot. So just pay attention to the weather if you're planning on traveling, and just see what it's been like.
Okay, the last of ones that are both a pro and a con is that of the visa. Now, the visa, something to know about Türkiye is they are not part of the Schengen, which can be both a pro and a con depending on how you look at it. Most people who are kind of traveling, nomads, whatever you want to call it, they think it's a pro. Because what they will do is spend 3 months in Europe somewhere and then come to Turkey for 3 months, and then they can go back to Europe because the amount of time has expired within the 180 days. So the other thing to know, though, is it is not for most countries, it is not just an enter and you get your 3 months right away, like a visa-free entry. For Canadians, we had to get an actual 3-month visa that we applied for. And I think it was around 100 US each person. So it can add up. However, it's absolutely worth it. And I didn't consider it a con at all, really. No. We had a 3-month visa. We were able to stay, and it was great. Okay, so the final part here is we're going to talk about the cons. And the first con, which you may or may not heard, is that Turkish language is difficult. Now, it's not that hard to learn a few words, but you know what? It's got the grammar is not similar to English. And from everyone we've heard from, it's hard to learn to a conversational level. Another part is that your average Turkish person maybe has quite limited English skills.
Yeah.
So you'll have to use the Google Translate a fair bit.
We did.
And you know what, though? It's passable and you can make it work.
Well, by the end of the 3 months, we're ordering our food in Turkish.
Yeah.
Little basic.
Yeah.
Hello, thanks, your basic phrases. I think, again, we're used to traveling in Mexico where Spanish is familiar to the ear, at least.
Yeah.
We hit Turkey and we're like, whoa.
Yeah, it was totally foreign.
Just totally foreign, which is kind of fun at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you got your Google Translate. But again, even in Istanbul, when they have really good English, it was always in the city center. They're trying to sell you stuff.
Now, be careful. If someone approaches you with perfect English, it generally means that they're trying to do something. They're going to
they're going to try and con you, or not even con, just sell you something.
Yeah.
But in general, like Google Translate, again, they were nice as long as you tried. They were happy.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't a deal breaker.
Yeah, just be aware the language is difficult.
Yeah. So again, this isn't really a con. It's just something to be aware of. We like Islam culture. Don't get me wrong. But the prayers. Now, we had heard about the prayers and we had no problems with the prayers. But where we were staying, there was always a 3 a.m. prayer.
Yeah, 3 or 4 a.m., something like that.
And we were not aware of that. And our Airbnb was always right beside a mosque, right? Which, again, we didn't care about. But what we found was helpful was having a white noise machine.
Yep.
And then it didn't really wake us up, right?
Exactly.
So
surprisingly loud, actually. Like, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the actual prayer chanters in Turkey, they have to sing. So they're live singers. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But man, they can blast that stuff sometimes. So.
Yeah. The first time we heard it at 3 a.m, I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So just to be aware, it's not a con. Just have a white noise machine and then you won't even notice.
Or do your prayers if you're Muslim.
Or do your prayers, exactly. So not a con, just something to be aware
of. The last con, and this one is quite a major one if you're thinking about retiring in Turkey, is they do not have an actual retirement visa. Mm-hmm. Now, there are ways around this. The primary one is that you buy property. If you buy property over, I think it's approximately $100,000 US, you can get a full residency visa to live there for a long period of time.
Double check, because it used to be lower and then they changed it.
Yeah.
And another thing is, if you're thinking about buying, they seem to change the laws.
It just depends.
Yeah.
Like, now that Erdogan is back in power, things may change again. Mm-hmm. Who knows? The general kind of consensus towards foreigners can be a little bit fluid. Even when, especially in Antalya, they made certain neighborhoods where foreigners could no longer reside because they had kind of hit a quota.
Yeah.
So it's something to just pay attention to. Now, there are other ways to get residency in Turkey. You can open a small business and go that way. Of course, there's marriage and work and all of the normal routes of residing somewhere. But really, I think the purchasing of property is the most common way that you could live there long term if that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So, I hope this video helped you out. We love Turkey.
Yeah, we miss it.
Yeah, all the time we talk about, the people were so nice. The whole country is it's an amazing place. One thing we didn't talk about today too much was just the cultural artifacts there. There's amazing things to see. The amazing ruins.
Yeah.
Ephesus, you name it. There's
museums,
there are so many great things to see.
Towers and it's beautiful. Like every city, you're gonna find something to see and do, and we kind of miss that, right?
Yeah.
Just tons of people around, and just a vibrant culture, and everybody's nice, and the food's great. You ball that all up, and it's a great holiday,
It really is.
right? Like,
Or a great place to
or a
live.
great place to live.
We've considered living in Turkey, and
Yeah.
who knows, if the future turns a certain way, we could end up living there. We're not sure at this point
Yeah, we
what'll
really
happen.
loved it. We loved
And
it.
you know what? We hope that this video helped you out, helped you decide, is Turkey a place that I would want to retire or live long term? I don't know. It might be for you.
But if anything else, go for a holiday.
Yeah.
Go travel in Turkey. We highly recommend it because we loved it. And
Yeah.
everybody we've talked to, you won't regret it. I mean, it really is a fabulous experience.
So that's, you know what? If you can subscribe down below, hit that like button. We hope today's video has been of help to you.
And leave a comment to tell us where you've been in Turkey and what you thought of it.
Yeah.
Because I always love reading everybody's comments.
We've only been to 3 major cities, so we've been to some other little places around those cities. But if you have any other suggestions of great places to live and retire long term, that would be great.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, so we hope this video was of help today. Everyone stay safe and happy travels.
Happy travels.